The Federal and Vale Hospital jointly present the Madurai Marathon 2025. This event is co-presented by Walking Shoe Company and powered by PSNA College of Engineering and Technology and Tucker EV Chargers. Run for bone and joint health on Sunday, December 7.
Welcome, viewers of The Federal, for this special interview. Though not entirely surprising, the fact that former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death for crimes against humanity by a Bangladesh tribunal is a game changer for the country's politics. We have with us Bangladesh's former education minister and a close aide of Sheikh Hasina, Mohibul Hasan Chowdhury, to discuss what this means for the Awami League and its future, the larger impact it has on Bangladesh politics, and the country's relationship with India. Welcome, Mr. Chowdhury.
Thank you for connecting me today.
Were you anticipating a death sentence for Sheikh Hasina? And how are you going to respond to this politically and otherwise?
First of all, we have responded to the legal anomalies of this conviction. The interim government had no legal mandate to amend the original law which was passed in the parliament without the parliament's consent. In absence of the parliament sitting, they have made illegal changes in the law just to try us, just to try our leaders. So they've done that. The procedure is totally flawed. The judge of the tribunal was absent for the last 1 month. Apparently, he was watching the tribunal hearing from his home as it was being broadcasted. So we knew what was coming. Their objective is to remove the top leadership of Awami League from the party's control and thereby destroy the entire infrastructure, political infrastructure of the party. So they've started this job as soon as they have taken over on the 8th of August of last year. But they have failed miserably. Because the purge and persecution was so deep from the grassroots to the top, there is an organic unity amongst the party workers between themselves and with the people of Bangladesh who are totally fed up and dissatisfied with the current government. So we are very confident that in the days to come, the political programs that we will be declaring, we will be declaring to the people. They will participate in them voluntarily, and this regime will see its natural end. So we are pretty confident, but then there is no other avenue that is open to us. Because the tribunal itself is illegal and we have not been given any right to represent ourselves, there is no way to appeal even this sentence. They know it's not an implementable verdict. It's just for PR purpose. Their main objective is to malign us. So that's what they've done, and did not even leave any room for appeal. They might even do another stage drama where they will call the so-called state-appointed attorney to appeal on behalf of the defendant, however absent the defendant is. So they will continue the drama. That is our understanding for now. But we will also start our protest movement.
Is this the biggest crisis that the Awami League has faced in its history since independence?
Since independence, of course not. In 1975, the entire family of Bangabandhu, Sheikh Mujib, the entire family was assassinated. Only 2 of his children were they survived, Sheikh Hasina and Sheikh Rehana, because they were abroad. The entire family was killed, including many leaders of the party. Between 1975's 15th of August till 79, there was unlimited persecution, however you call it, on the party. The party was banned for the entire period. Military dictatorships ran the country, and we had survived because Awami League is intertwined with the history of Bangladesh. The socio-cultural fabric of Bangladesh accommodates Awami League more than any other political party, which is why the defeated force of the 71 continues to take power through through different routes, sometimes through military intervention, sometimes through street riot. And after taking over, they do this, and they have done as they have done in the past. So we've overcome this after 75. Even in 2001, after BNP and Jamaat Islami formed government across the country, the then government ran their brutal campaign against us. We lost nearly 3,000 of our activists between 2001 and 6, but we've still survived. So what we say is that Awami League is not just a political party. It's the concentrated feelings of many liberal, secular, progressive activists of the country, who almost all of whom have lost their family members in the hands of brutal regimes which had ruled the country since 75 till 96. So every time there is a setback, Awami League loses blood. I mean, almost each and every family members of Awami Leaguers have someone who have died. I mean, I personally also come from a family where my mother had died when I was just 4 in a bomb explosion. I survived by a couple of seconds, in fact. And thereafter, my father, who was a veteran politician, was in jail for many years without any trial. So we've all gone through this period of brutal treatment and unlawful treatment. So we will always rise from the ashes, as we have done in the past.
You know, if you look back at the student agitation last year, that was a precursor to what eventually happened, the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. You think the government or Sheikh Hasina, you could have acted differently? I mean, you think, looking back, how do you think, was it the right way for you to have reacted to the students' agitation, or, was there other options you could have explored at that point in time? How do you see it now?
You see, what we did not anticipate was the agenda behind the protest. So, from the very beginning, we were absolutely lenient with the protesters. They were blocking the street of Dhaka city since the 1st of July. This movement actually started from the 1st of July. And in fact, police was facilitating at different points of Dhaka city and across the country. But as soon as the initial protests started to become violent, there was call from many quarters to immediately, voluntarily tell the protesting students that we are going to accept all the demands from them. In fact, we have said this to the protesters that the case is pending in the High Court. Right now, from the government side, we cannot really do anything because it is in the High Court, in the Supreme Court, in fact, and we have to wait for the judgment. And meanwhile, we promise you that the demands of the students will be met. It was being constantly conveyed, but the agenda was different. The agenda was blood, the agenda was riot, the agenda was destruction. And as things went out of control, I have to say that the police wasn't prepared for a brutal crackdown that had happened on them. So across the country, when the police stations were being burned and their members were being lynched and killed, they had no choice but in self-defense, use whatever weapon they had at hand. So, and as things escalated, at some point, we had to call the army in. But you have to understand that the entire focus of the rioters was Dhaka city. Because in the past, we've seen that protest movements happened across the country, but there was no fall of Dhaka. Dhaka stayed, and the government was in place, and there was no threat to. In fact, these protesters, especially the leaders who are now in government, they had themselves to the media until the 2nd of August. From the 1st of July till the 1st of August, they kept saying that we have nothing against the government. But meanwhile, they were actively promoting violent actions. And after the 8th of August, after taking over of the government, they have confessed that we had to do this and we had to tell lies to the public because we didn't want it to start as an anti-government movement, because the people of Bangladesh, by and large, had some faith in the leadership of the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. If we had started it as an anti-government movement, it wouldn't have gotten the support of the majority of the people. They are claiming this now, and they said that it was, as they quoted, part of their meticulous design. And in fact, they're now saying that, oh, we had to kill policemen. And immediately after, and not just policemen, but also others, they had to be violent in order to overthrow us. They said that if they could not succeed, they would have turned this into an urban guerrilla warfare, and which is what they're now expressing and confessing to the media. So it was a very well-designed regime change operation. Every part of it. So because of political maturity or whatever reasons, the leaders are now expressing it to the public, because of course I think they also want to, in some way in the future, want to get some kind of indemnity in that they weren't part of it, someone else was playing with them. And the other point I want to tell you here is that now, after taking over of the government, if they really meant reform, as they claimed, if they really meant that the country should be now on a path to democratic transition, they would have gone for reconciliation. They would have gone for investigation of the entire saga. In fact, we had started a judicial commission, which of course didn't see couldn't progress very much. So they did not conduct any kind of investigation into the whole riot. And as soon as taking over, they have in fact issued a government order not to file a single case on any incident of violence against security forces before the 5th of August. So they have indemnified themselves as soon as they have taken over power. So all of these things, all of these points go towards their culpability. And it was a highly funded activity. I don't want to, of course, just bring up conspiracy theories here, but Mr. Yunus himself had been claiming that he had foreign assistance. And I have to mention this here, that he's actually one of the richest men in the country, not through just his Grameen Bank. He's 25% owner of the largest listed company of Bangladesh. He's the Ambani or the Adani of Bangladesh. If you think about it. In fact, Ambanis and Adanis have bank exposure, credit exposure. He doesn't have a single credit exposure, single Taka's credit exposure. He's, in person, by name, is the owner of 25% of the largest company in Bangladesh, which is called the GP, Grameen Phone. Telenor is his equity partner. Telenor, which is the Norwegian telecommunication entity, it owns 54% of the GP, the Grameen Phone, and Mr. Yunus owns 25% of it, and the remaining is in the stock market. It's listed. It's a listed company. So you can imagine every year how much money he earns from this particular venture. And that's where the dispute initially began, that he claimed he does not owe the government a single Taka's tax from the huge amount of dividend that he was getting. because he claimed that he's spending it on social ventures, not for profit activities, right? If you let that happen, every other industrialist or the capitalist or the businessman would claim that, oh, I'm also doing the same. I don't owe the government any money because I'm giving zakat or fitra or charity or whatever, people out of the religious obligation, everyone pays zakat in Bangladesh. I mean, all those who can afford to. Now they're all going to claim that, well, in the name of God, we are helping the poor. Why should we pay the government any tax? And that's his claim, that the huge amount of dividend he was getting, he doesn't owe anyone a tax. And there was no trace of that fund. Where was it going? And a lot of it was being laundered for his quote unquote philanthropic activities abroad. So we have foreign exchange laws where if you send money abroad, you need to get permission from the Bangladesh bank, which he wasn't taking. How was he sending the money? No one knew. He had his own system in place. So the man is a criminal enterprise himself, but he had very powerful friends abroad. The entire Clinton Foundation was behind him. There are many friends of him in the whole of Europe. And when you have individuals like this pretending to be the messiah of the poor with billions of dollars under his control and for his enjoyment, he can do anything, really. I mean, it was a surprise that he could not succeed since 2007. He was in the game since 2007. He tried to float a party in 2007, failed repeatedly. Then he did many other plans and projects to oust the government. And then finally in 2024, he had succeeded. So, I mean, kudos to the man. Regime change takes time. And he did in the end succeed, but he has no plan to reconciliate amongst the feuding political parties, nothing to heal. He doesn't have any plan to heal the nation. He's constantly agitating the young people through certain TikTokers who live abroad. I don't know whether you have come across some of the demagogues who are abroad, and from France and other countries, they're sitting down there and agitating the people. And there he is calling it people's retribution, people's justice, people's demand, etc. So that's how he has created a country full of anarchists right now, who are young people who wanted jobs, and now they just want to cause chaos.
Bangladesh at this moment is in a kind of a crossroads. It's at a very crucial juncture. The Awami League has been banned, prevented from taking part in the elections that are scheduled sometime in February. And you also have a whole lot of, people within the, it's very polarized, the situation right now within Bangladesh. So what are the challenges, specific challenges you foresee for the Awami League to make a kind of a comeback, or at least attempt to return, in some ways to the mainstream?
You see, it's not a question of whether Awami League can return or should return or whether we'll be able to return. The question is whether the country will have the stability that it had in the past before the 5th of August ouster of the government. If there is no country, if there is no stability in the country, it's irrelevant whether Awami League survives or not. Awami League will keep on surviving. The point is whether Awami League wants to survive and continue as a political party or as part of these feuding groups who will continue to fight amongst themselves without any reconciliation or national consensus. If you are to say that the anarchic state of the country will continue, and as it seems to me, it will continue. Awami League will continue to survive like just any other political party who are surviving right now. Maybe without power. I mean, if you are to think of the worst possible scenario for the party, I mean, what is the worst possible scenario? The worst possible scenario is that in the next coming election, they will be barred from taking part, right? And let's say this government will successfully hold a one-sided election, barring the Awami League and its allies. So let's say that they will hold that election, and in that election, whoever comes, it is for certain they will not have the mandate of the majority of the people, because many will abstain from voting because the Awami League is not there. Including BNP voters will not go to vote because the main opposition of their party is not there. Because they will then have that voter complacency that, we have already won the race. Why should we go and vote, right? With such a low mandate, a government, let's say, hypothetically has taken over in February. How long will that government sustain? That's the question. How long can you keep the Awami League banned? It's not possible. The military, which now acts as a buffer between this force and our force, will have to go back to the cantonment. And they will. And they cannot be out there in society policing everyone all the time. Once the military is out, and then you have a very weak government with very low mandate. How long will that government last? Awami League is a party of protest. They have launched protests since their birth. I mean, majority of the party's existence in history was in opposition. They fought the Pakistan army. They fought the Pakistani government, the military junta, the Bangladesh military junta. So Awami League knows the game of protest. So it will protest naturally because it has to survive, right? And so and then no one can guarantee that the new government, if there is one, will sustain more than a year even. And that's the sad consequence of this election, of this possible election, that not only that it will not be credible, but it will not even sustain. Eventually, they will collapse. Yes, you could say that in the past, BNP, when they were in government, we had tried, protested, could not oust the government, but we had never wanted to oust a government which had some kind of mandate to run the country for 5 years. It wasn't our objective, right? Right now, the objective will be, because of what we have gone through and the country has gone through, everyone will be asking for an ouster of the new government. Already they're asking for an ouster of the interim government. So interim government, having realized this situation, now is talking about election. So Awami League will continue, but whether the country will have the stability and law and order situation like it used to have in the recent past, that is the question.
One of the outcomes of this current situation within Bangladesh has been its relationship with India. And now that Sheikh Hasina is in India, there is also a demand for her to be extradited to Bangladesh. So I'm saying that as far as the whole scenario is concerned, and the current dispensation is not as friendly to India as Sheikh Hasina was. So going forward, how do you think all this is going to affect India-Bangladesh relationship, and whether India will come under pressure to consider extraditing Sheikh Hasina to Bangladesh?
I mean, a country like India cannot be pressured by anyone. I mean, India did not bow to the pressure from United States. Bangladesh is not a significant country for, as far as India is concerned, to just slavishly follow whatever request Bangladesh is making. I mean, the reality of Bangladesh-India relationship is that there is a lot of interdependency. Interdependency also from India's part, because you have 170 million people, inside Bangladesh, and deep poverty in some pockets, and religious extremism, and so on and so forth. India has to rely on the government of Bangladesh to control these 170 million people and contain them in our geographic territory, right? You cannot turn the whole 170 million people hostile, right? It's a very dangerous thing, right? You can't even manage it through army. So it is in India's interest to have a stable government in Bangladesh, because 170 million people, if they all become very hostile, and which they are not, by the way, they are not hostile to India. They come here legally or illegally for work, for their better livelihood, and so on, medical services, to many things. Bangladesh-India people-to-people relationship is very strong. But some political parties play this rhetoric game. They say many things, and Yunus does not have any political standing and does not require any mandate from the people. So he can say many things, and he continues to do that. He continues to poke India about Northeast, continues to entertain Pakistani generals in the country. I mean, something that BNP wouldn't dare to do. because they're a legitimate political party. They require people's support, and they will not want to play with the emotion of people related to 1971. Even BNP never facilitated Pakistani generals in the country or celebrated their presence. The reality is this government is doing it because they have no accountability to anyone. They can do anything they feel like, and they're there only for a short period of time. So once the political government comes, whoever it is, the situation will have to normalize. Bangladesh relies on raw materials imported from India, even for its export industry. Bangladesh relies on food from India. I mean, our food security is very precarious, in a very precarious state. As I said, we have 170 million people. No matter how much you produce, you cannot ever be self-sufficient in everything that you need. And it is a serious issue for us. So we are dependent on India's trade with Bangladesh. We have to earn the foreign currency to buy the food from India and other countries. So it's an interdependent relationship. So I don't see a government in a regular political government in Bangladesh doing something totally against the interests of India and Bangladesh. But the problem is you now have this extremist party, which is Jamaat-e-Islami, alongside the extremists in power right now, who are trying to do as much damage as possible to India and also to Bangladesh. How? They are now calling for a militia movement, arming this young, angry youth with guns for a potential future fight with India. They are talking about this extremist utopian dream of Ghazwatul Hind, right? The ISIS-style utopian dream, and it is being said from people with in position of responsibility. It's not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry giving a speech in the middle of Shahbag Square. These are government officials right now. They're public servants, and they're saying it, and that's their objective. And also Jamaat-Islami leaders who are hell bent on bringing India to creating a trouble between India and Bangladesh, so that Pakistan can also take part in that game. So these risks remain. And we all have to be vigilant. And there are sensible leadership in all parties in Bangladesh, which is what I believe, and also the leadership in the government. I mean, not just the political part, but you have leadership in the army, the civil administration, the judiciary. They're not insane people. They're career diplomats and professionals and soldiers, right? They don't want a Ukraine-like situation in Bangladesh here, or Myanmar-like situation. I mean, but the anarchists there who are in charge, they only can thrive through battle and fighting and anarchy because they have no political constituency. When you don't have a political constituency, all you want is anarchy, the revolutionary talks and as much hostility towards India and within the country also.
Fine. Anyway, so thanks for sharing your thoughts with us, and let's see what happens in future. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Federal and Vale Hospital jointly present the Madurai Marathon 2025. This event is co-presented by Walking Shoe Company, powered by PSNA College of Engineering and Technology and Tucker EV Chargers. Run for bone and joint health on Sunday, December 7. Entry is free. All are welcome.